Welcome back to Business Today. Now it's time to do a little bit of play, but more of business because sports is a huge global business. Now, first of all, let's handle this issue of AFCON and preparedness. The Confederation of African Football, that is CAF, awarded Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania the hosting rights for the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations, that is AFCON. Now, the Pamoja bid saw the East African nations beat Egypt, Senegal, Botswana and Algeria, who withdrew from the rest 2 days before the official announcement of the hosting rights. According to CAF, match venues of a hosting country or joint host should be near an airport, level 5 hospital and level 5 hotel. So it has to have amenities around it, proximity to amenities. The host should also have 6 stadiums to cater to the 24 teams that take part in the tournament. Each host country or countries must have at least 3 training grounds near match venues that meet CAF set standards. The big question there is, do we have this CAF set or CAF standard infrastructure? Well, we should also have padded VIP and VVIP seats must be well demarcated, as well as a media center, media tribune and press conference room that can host 50 media personnel. This is about coverage. Now, a mixed zone also is required. Photographers area, OB van area, and VAR operation room are the key requirements. Now, improvements. Let's talk about the status where we are. Improvements on Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani and Nyayo Stadium in Nairobi, with the Kipchoge Keino Stadium in Eldoret, just over 300 kilometers from the capital, is being considered as the third option. So we are trying to improve these amenities. Are they up to standards? We'll be discussing that. We also have Uganda is said to have used Nambole Stadium as the guarantee. That is Nambole Stadium, the CAF Benjamin Mkapa. Actually, the Tanzania have a CAF certified, infrastructure. That is the Benjamin Mkapa National Stadium, which is already inked for Tanzania. We have Chamazi Complex, home to Azam FC and CCM Kirumba Stadium in Mwanza, and some venues in Dodoma, Arusha and Zanzibar are the areas of options for Tanzania. Now, of course, Kenya, we've discussed some of the options that we have. Kasarani, Moi, what interventions do we have? But I'd like us to take a look at the issue of, history. Where are we coming from? Because in the year 2018, and even before that, just I think 2 years after I was born in 1996 AFCON edition, Kenya won the bid to host their 1996 AFCON edition, as well as the 2018 Africa Nations Champions Finals. And on both occasions, we were stripped away the rights to do this. And reason is the venues were not ready. The question is, by 2027, will the venues be ready? That's the big question. In regards to budget estimates, also we saw Gabon government spend around 72 billion shillings to host the 2017 AFCON, and Cameroon spent around 130 billion shillings to stage the same tournament in 2021. In studio we may have Cynthia Mumbo, who is the founder and CEO of Sports Connect Africa. Cynthia, the big question is, what happened in 1996? And what happened in 2018? Now, we are in 2023 going to 2024. This thing is in 2027. Will we be ready by then, or do we risk to see this, issue of lack of amenities affecting us when 2027 hits?
I have faith that it will not happen a third time. It will be very embarrassing for us. I think we've seen the government has given this great task of improving the amenities to KDF, and so far anything that has gone to KDF has always been, delivered on time and to the right standards. So my assumption and my hope and my prayer is that this will be the case also this time.
Okay. In regards to the level, the CAF standard level, when you look at the 3 countries, where are we in that regard, and what needs to be done, especially for those who haven't attained that level, to be able to be certified by CAF?
It requires investment, and heavy investment at that. So we need to have the right stadiums, and this requires investment behind the construction of these stadiums. So if you look at Nyayo, all the amenities that you had talked about earlier there, I don't even think that there's any country in East and Central Africa that has the other amenities like Kenya does. So for us, I think what we need to do is really just upgrade our stadiums to the standards that CAF is requesting, and that will require some really heavy lifting in terms of investment.
All right. When we take a look at case studies, look at Cameroon 2021, Gabon 2017, the impact of hosting CAF tournament, AFCON tournament. What should we be looking forward to, especially the because I know Kenyans will look for opportunities and we'll be having a lot of inflows into the country for AFCON 2027. What are some of the areas that we expect a lot of booming, and post-tournament, is the same vibrancy expected to be maintained? Oh
yeah, in terms of just the value proposition for any country that's hosting a major tournament, I think this is very big. So if you look at infrastructure development, so they're not as much as the countries are developing the infrastructure with the the stadiums and stuff, they still have to improve the infrastructure around. So if you look at the roads, if you look at the hotels, if you look at the schools around these spaces, because they need training grounds and things like that. So that will be very big impact. The three nations are known greatly for tourism, so there's a very big opportunity around tourism. So influx of visitors from around the world, who will come for the game, but most importantly will be able to visit these spaces that we have around our countries. Thirdly, in terms of capacity and capability, so the expectation is that there's going to be a very big investment behind people, right? And jobs will be created out of this. So you will need the hospitality industry will need to to be upgraded. So you need people for that. You look at which other spaces. If you look at development, sports development, that will be impacted. If you look at infrastructure, that will be impacted. So the impact is going to be great. Okay. And it's not just within one space, it's a lot of different industries.
All right. I'm looking at the year 2027, and we always have risks, especially around political year. Yeah, and for Kenya, 2027, as we estimate, of course, an election, less some of the suggestions that we're seeing, come up, or a president should be around us, around for 7 years and whatnot. But if the status quo is maintained, talk to me about that risk. How do we conduct ourselves for it not to become an issue?
It's an issue. The fact that you're thinking about it's an issue, and that, for me, I think is one of the biggest challenges that we'll face. It's probably a bigger challenge than the challenge around the infrastructure development. But I think we should be able to overcome, depending on how mature we choose to be as Kenyans. Because I always say that government is an institution. It is not necessarily the people who are in office. It is an institution. So if you move, then whoever comes in must be able to continue. But also, I believe that there's going to be a secretariat that will be in charge of the delivery of this massive sports experience, and the secretariat will be separate from the government itself. Of course, political will is critical to the success of the AFCON being held in Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, but very, very critically important to understand that there should be, and there should always be, a demarcation between the operational work and the political work with sports.
Definitely. When we placed this bid, we decided that, unity is stronger and is better. So we decided to come as, the Pamoja bid. And sometimes there's that temptation, even amongst siblings. You're like, okay, who's doing better in school? Who's better at football? And I'm looking at For example, our neighbors, Tanzania, their club level football, it's very vibrant. The guys are very passionate, the Simbas, the Yangas of this world. In Kenya also, there was that level of vibrancy. And as we were discussing earlier, I mean, how do we bring that particular pride in Kenya's football and also find a way of commercializing it, because that's the best way to make it sustainable? Right.
I was telling you earlier, just before we got into this, I've been seeing some progression over the last couple of months. So we've the Kenya Premier League has signed with Azam. That's a very big deal when it comes to broadcast in terms of commercial engagement and commercial revenue for the clubs. I think there's going to be something big there. Just this week, AFC Leopards announced a new way of collection for gate fees, and it has been received very well. I think for the first time in a long time, or for the first time ever, we were able to see AFC Leopards put down the numbers. So, they talked about, I think, 2,600 or 3,000 and something fans coming into the stadium. They gave a breakdown of the VIP and the normal tickets and how much they collected. Very transparent. I think, so that's great. When you look at Shabana FC and how they're engaging their fans, when you look at Police FC, when you look at Bandari FC and how they're engaging from social media and fans and all of that, there's definitely some progression. And I think us hosting AFCON will definitely bring a big difference. There's a big opportunity around merchandise sales. There's a big opportunity around ticketing and stuff like that. There's a big opportunity around technology rather. So if you look at the opportunity to create apps and engagement spaces, big opportunity around that.
Definitely. And even as you come to the tail end of this, we just before we took a break from the first half, there's that particular story of, the children meeting the president and the way they felt inspired. And I believe even in sports, there is a certain foundation that you lay that gives, where we build our sports infrastructure as it progresses. Let's talk about investment in talent, especially young talent. Where are we as a country in this regard?
Interestingly, I think we're doing pretty well. So there are a lot of private institutions that are running academies. I think we now have a very big opportunity to invest behind the CBC platform and use CBC as a development platform for football and other sports, of course. But, because we're going into Africa, there's a very big opportunity to merge what the government is trying to do around hosting AFCON and being able to, add value into the education system. I think that will really, really impact the sports ecosystem, the youth ecosystem, the development ecosystem across the board.
That's very incredible, investing in the youth. And now we are looking forward, we are counting years, realistically looking at this, because we've had those, we've had those disappointing moments, and I know we shouldn't live in the past. You say investment is critical. There will be a technical committee to look into this particular issue. The attitude of Kenyans as we approach AFCON 2027 from a consumer and a Kenyan perspective. How should we approach this to get maximum utility from it?
I think this is a big opportunity for us, one, to bring people together. I know that, generally the mood of the country is not necessarily 100% positive because of how, things are. The life is very expensive, but there's nothing more valuable than sports that brings people together and makes people have hope. Sports brings hope, sports inspires us. So I think, it's up to us Kenyans to say that there's this thing coming to us. What can I do as a Kenyan to get into this space and deliver greatness for my nation and deliver greatness for my home?
Definitely. Very, very important. Cynthia, thank you very much for taking time to speak to us on business today, on matters football, AFCON 2027. I can't wait, man. Cynthia Mumbo is the founder and CEO of Sports Connect Africa, and she says that we need to invest. She's very hopeful. She has faith. She's, Faith is it has to be quantified, because faith without action is dead. But by 2027, I believe we will be ready. Well, as our conversation today, as you've realized, I like doing headers because this is very important. Thank you very much for watching Business Today. What a talk, man. I enjoy football. I think I need to get back to watching football. You've seen that intro, the way I've struggled. Yeah, I need to get my gas back. But thank you. Noki Kimboy. Up next we have New KTN. Stay tuned and keep looking forward to AFCON 2027.